Chapter 414. She was forcefully brought to the lost space by Su Su and became a mission enforcer. To Su Wan, the cruelest thing wasn't knowing that she was a cannon fodder ex-girlfriend. Rather, the man that she truly loved and hated not only never loved her, but, from the beginning to the end, he was just acting. As a mission enforcer, he got close to his target and used his flawless acting skills to deceive her to achieve his goal. This was the man she had loved so deeply that she was willing to destroy everything for him. Everything was fake. Even his identity and name were fake. "I'm Su Su." When Su Su reached out to Su Wan again, she took a step back and sneered at him. "Don't touch me. Why don't you let me die? Why did you bring me here? You want me to become a cold-blooded mission enforcer like you? Is that fun?" After coming to the lost space, her soul would be bound to this space. If she wanted to be free, she had to continuously travel through different spaces and complete missions to earn points. Only after accumulating enough points could she remove the binding and leave the lost space, becoming a free person. At that moment, Su Wan was in despair. Su Su clearly couldn't understand her feelings. At that moment, Su Su couldn't even tell what he was feeling. As it turned out, Su Wan would rather die than become a mission enforcer. Su Su vaguely felt like he made a wrong decision again. However, the word regret didn't exist in his life. "You're a mission enforcer now. You can choose to follow me or defeat me." Su Su looked at Su Wan with a clear gaze. He never comforted people. When he wasn't acting, he was actually a very strict and uninteresting man. "Ha, hee hee." Su Wan couldn't help but laugh. Was this fate? Okay. Su Su, since that's the case, wait for me. I'll defeat you. Since she couldn't die, Su Wan might as well abandon everything. Wasn't it just being a mission enforcer? If Su Su could do it, why couldn't she? Who said that she could only be an abandoned cannon fodder for the rest of her life? She wanted to be the one who treated all the main characters as cannon fodder. Therefore, when Su Su let Su Wan choose her own department, Su Wan chose the destruction department without hesitation. Since he couldn't fulfill them, then he would destroy them all. After Su Wan became a mission enforcer, Su Su never saw her again, but he had been paying attention to Su Wan's movements. Even because of his relationship with Su Lang, Su Su was able to pull out all the files of Su Wan's missions from the logistics department. It could be said that he had been watching her silently, watching how she turned from a rookie who knew nothing into an experienced and cold-blooded mission enforcer. He had seen her kill for the first time, he had seen her lie for the first time, he had seen her fall into despair and disappointment after each success. Humans were really sentimental creatures. Su Su looked at Su Wan and felt her emotions, but he himself became more and more confused. What is love? What is hate? Su Su always thought he didn't have a heart. Without a heart, how could he feel other people's emotions and desires? But, why was he confused? Why was he anxious? Why did he feel uncomfortable seeing Su Wan and Su Rui slowly walking together? When Su Wan was in danger, he disregarded everything and entered the mission to save her. Even after something happened to Su Rui, Su Su was the first to rush out, wanting to accept the rescue mission. Naturally, it was for Su Wan's safety. Why did he have so many emotions? And why would he do these strange things? Su Su started to doubt everything. And at this time, the day before the trial, Su Lang found him, Zhangyue mainland. Su Su's memories of this mainland came from the 2 bracelets he had worn since he was young. He had already given one of them to Su Wan. When he found out that Su Lang changed the trial space without permission, Su Su was very calm. He had a vague impression of his parents, but he was still looking forward to this mainland. Although he didn't know what he was looking forward to, now, at the final moment, Su Su heard Su Rui's request and he suddenly seemed to understand something. Although Su Wan and Su Rui's memories were sealed, they would still meet each other and would naturally be attracted to each other. Maybe this was love. No matter what you become, no matter if you remember me or not, I will still love you. Transcend time, transcend space. Because of love, they would walk together. Su Su lowered his eyes, looking at the reflection of a pair of clear eyes in his wine glass. Su Wan, I brought you to the lost time space because I did something wrong. I owed you, so I let you go once. But now, we don't owe each other anything. Therefore, I won't be lenient to you anymore. I won't be lenient. The calm hall was surging with undercurrents. Su Rui wasn't calm after hearing Su Su's reply. He knew that he should listen to Su Su's arrangements. Plus, everyone was a mission enforcer, so it was a fair competition here. Even if the little snake died here, she would just lose the right to win. She would still return to the headquarters. But, he just didn't feel well, extremely well. After eating breakfast and returning to the room, Su Rui saw that Su Wan was about to enter and couldn't help but call her, Xiao Qing. Master, do you need something? Su Wan looked at Su Rui with an inexplicable expression. Su Rui couldn't help but take a few steps forward and get closer to Su Wan. He leaned over and whispered in her ears, "Don't go near Yi Qing. He's very dangerous." Yi Qing, Su Wan froze and then smiled at Su Rui. Thank you for your reminder. I've worked with him in Xiang's sect before. He's indeed a dangerous person. How could the king of the lost time space, Su Su, not be dangerous? Su Wan looked down and entered the room. She closed the door and leaned against it. The first time she saw Master Mo, she subconsciously mistook him for someone else, thinking that he was Su Su. After interacting with him, Su Wan dispelled her suspicions. Until she participated in Xiang's sect's entrance examination. The moment she came out of the illusion, Yi Qing grabbed her hand. At that moment, Su Wan knew. That man was 99% likely Su Su. The moment his fingertips touched her, the pain in her soul and her desire to escape couldn't lie to anyone. The most unforgettable thing in life was the person who loved you the most and hurt you the most. Su Wan wouldn't forget Su Su. She also couldn't forget the voice in the illusion. It was night and the stars were bright. Su Wan set up a smokescreen in her room and then quietly left her room. She had gotten used to Master Mo's habits over the years. Therefore, she chose to leave when he was cultivating every day so that she wouldn't startle him. Chapter 4:15. Daki sect's disciples lived in an inn in the south of Xiaoguang town. Su Wan had paid special attention to their sect's residence yesterday. Taking advantage of the night, she arrived at the inn and concealed her aura, sneaking into the backyard. She was searching for the two auras that she remembered that day. Not long after, Su Wan discovered Hobingning's aura. Because this body's aptitude was average, Hobingning's cultivation wasn't too high. Right now, she was only in the early stage of nascent soul realm. She always had the best cultivation resources in Daki sect. This was all because she had a genius brother. This time of the day was the best time to cultivate. Originally, Hobingning planned to start meditating after bathing and changing her clothes. However, she didn't expect that just as she changed her clothes, a black shadow would appear behind her. It was silent and didn't have any murderous intent, but it came with ill intentions. What? Before she could say the word person, Hobingning had already turned around and took out her magic weapon. Although her cultivation wasn't high, as a disciple of Daki sect, she had a lot of magic weapons with her. Su Wan nimbly dodged Hobingning's attack and teleported. She lifted her hand and threw out a silver chain. She had gotten quite a bit of good stuff over the years. Plus, she was with the rich and imposing Master Mo and also had the lucky male lead. She really could pick up magic weapons whenever she went out. Immortal binding rope. Ho Bingning's expression changed seeing Su Wan's chain. This chain was called Immortal Binding Rope. Although it wasn't a real immortal artifact, it was still a very powerful magic weapon. It was the magic weapon of a senior in Daki sect. But after that senior failed his tribulation and became an itinerant immortal, no one knew of his whereabouts anymore. Just who are you? Ho Bingning stared at the shadow in the darkness. She couldn't see the opponent's appearance, but she could feel that it was a woman. You should know who I am just like how I know who you are. Su Wan said softly, not changing her voice. Mission Enforcer. Ho Bingning's gaze narrowed. While stalling for time, she was already thinking of a way. At this moment, in another room not far away, Ho Bingchen was facing his own weapon tripod and was focused on refining weapons. This was the last time they would refine before entering the small world. Although he knew that his department had the highest chance of success, he had always been careful and did not want to make any mistakes. Brother. At this time, the communication amulet on Ho Bingchen's waist suddenly rang. Ho Bingning's panicked voice came from it. Brother, help. It was Ho Bingning. Ho Bingchen hesitated for a moment. He had always taken good care of his sister, but that didn't mean that he truly trusted her. However, it wouldn't make sense if he didn't appear at this time. Ho Bingchen stopped refining. After thinking for a long time, he took out his artifact and walked towards Ho Bingning's room. At this time, there was a spiritual barrier outside Ho Bingning's room. Ho Bingchen waved his sword and rushed in. In the room, Ho Bingning and Su Wan were locked in battle. Seeing his figure, Ho Bingning's face lit up and she subconsciously moved closer to Ho Bingchen. Brother. It's a demon cultivator from the Myriad Demon Mountain. Demon. At this time, Ho Bingchen finally felt the demon aura assaulting him. As expected, it was a demon. Evildoer, how dare you come to Xiaoguang town to commit evil? Watch my sword. Ho Bingchen waved his sword and charged at Su Wan. At this time, Su Wan's gaze flickered and she threw out the immortal binding rope again. Ho Bingchen didn't panic despite being bound by the immortal binding rope. His cultivation was similar to Su Wan's. This imitation immortal artifact could only bind him for a second. Brother, let me help you. At this time, Ho Bingning suddenly rushed over from behind. Then, Ho Bingchen's pupils shrank. He watched helplessly as Ho Bingning's strange blade ruthlessly pierced his chest. Blood splattered and Ho Bingchen's face turned incomparably pale. At this time, a cold wind blew past. Before Ho Bingning could pull out her weapon, she was sent flying by a palm. She flew out and hit the wall, losing her breath in an instant. One-hit kill. Su Wan quietly looked at the slender figure that suddenly appeared. She couldn't help but squint her eyes and smile. You're here. The faint greeting was like meeting an old friend that she hadn't seen for many years. Yi Qing expressionlessly supported Ho Bingchen's body. Without saying a word, he silently inserted his spiritual qi into Ho Bingchen's body. In the next second, Yi Cheng's expression changed. This was, boss. Ho Bingchen looked at Yi Cheng's palm that was gradually turning black and immediately struggled. Boss, don't worry about me. This is the Medicinal Valley's poison. Oh, you're quite knowledgeable. Su Wan smiled and took a step forward. Ho Bingning was poisoned a long time ago and lost her mind. I also smeared poison on her weapon. Even if she's in the Divine Division realm, she can't escape death. So just wait for death. Don't struggle. Saying this, Su Wan looked at Yi Qing. You too, Master Yi. No, it should be Department Head Su. Ha. Su smiled. He lifted his hand and a layer of black mist enveloped the entire room. In the next second, the poison in Su's palm was gradually absorbed by the black mist. Ghost cultivator. Su Wan froze. She didn't think that Su was a ghost cultivator. Ghost cultivator, she subconsciously touched her wrist again. Su, it seems like you're quite lucky. You too. Su knew that Su Wan was good at using poison. Now that she had been with Su Rui for decades, she probably learned most of Su Rui's poisons. He had neglected this. Feeling Yunxing's aura gradually weakening, Su sighed. It seems like after tonight, there will be 5 mission enforcers left. That's good too. Department head Su is still so confident. How rare. Su Wan also smiled and walked up fearlessly. She stood in front of Su and slowly lifted her wrist. She rolled up her sleeves, revealing her fair wrist and the golden tattoo. Before I die, can you tell me the truth? You're old ghost, right? Old ghost. Su's gaze landed on Su Wan's wrist. He watched as the tattoo gradually turned into the golden bracelet. His gaze became dazed. You remember everything. After a long while, Su raised his head and looked at Su Wan, who was very close to him. In that moment when he was in a daze, he was actually secretly on guard. He understood Su Wan. He thought that Su Wan's actions and questions were definitely to disturb his mind. She was waiting for a chance to attack. But unexpectedly, Su Wan didn't do anything. She just looked at the man in front of her with a complicated gaze. Why did you save me? Didn't I tell you that I don't need you to save me? Su Wan took another step forward, seemingly not afraid that Su would suddenly attack her. Why did he save her? Chapter 4:16. Black mist pervaded the room. Su, have you liked me before? Su Wan looked at Su's eyes and slowly walked over. The two faced each other. Su Wan's long eyes gently swept over the tip of Su's nose. His body stiffened for a second. In the next breath, Su Wan had already lifted her arms and hugged Su. This hug seemed to have isolated everything around them. Su's usually astute mind also blanked out for a moment. You've already died once. Su Wan's cold voice suddenly rang in Su's ears. Su suddenly snapped out of his trance. The woman in his arms had already straightened, spinning a sharp dagger in her hands. In the darkness, her gaze was as cold and bright as ever. Su Wan. Su looked straight into Su Wan's eyes. Why aren't you doing anything? This was her best chance, a chance like this that she might only have once. In that moment, he really wasn't on guard against her. Don't think that I'll be lenient towards you. I just don't want to do anything. Su Wan lifted her brows at Su. I don't want to owe you anything. Su, I'm returning your favor this time. We don't owe each other anymore. You can do anything now. I admit that I'm not your opponent. If you want to kill me, do as you please. Saying this, Su Wan put away the dagger in her hands, looking like she didn't care at all. At this moment, the two of them had already heard the sound of a notification. After Ho Bingning and Ho Bingchen died, there were only 6 mission enforcers left. Su looked at Su Wan's eyes for a long time. Her clear and cold eyes were still filled with undiminished pride, as well as that unyielding personality of hers. The person in front of him overlapped with the girl in his memories again. In the end, Su turned around without hesitation and silently disappeared into the night. Until Su's figure completely disappeared, Su Wan suddenly let out a long sigh. Her fair face was covered in sweat. You won the bet. Another voice rang in the darkness behind her. Ha! Su Wan narrowed her eyes, her expression solemn again. How could it be that easy to win against him and Su Rui? If it wasn't to cover your aura, would I have risked my life just now? Ah. The voice behind him paused. I was worried about your safety and came to help. Who knew I would run into Su Su? Fortunately. To think that a honey trap would work on him, what a marvelous story. Su Wan. Since you know Su Su's weakness, you can go next time, okay? I should go back. I've been out for too long and it would be bad if Su Rui found out. Hey! Did you or did you not? Seeing that Su Wan left without hesitation, the figure in the darkness sighed. Have you recovered your memory or not? Hey! Your family's General Su is also quite violent, this miss can't withstand it at all. Moreover, do you think that honey traps and whatnot can be used by anyone? If Su Su fell for it, he would have been killed by me in minutes, okay? Sigh, it was such a good opportunity. Why didn't Su Wan kill him once? Forget it. I won't think about it anymore. Yi Axian lowered her head and looked at the two corpses on the ground. Today was not without harvest. She should go back earlier. It would be bad if someone found out about her whereabouts. When Su Wan returned to her room in the inn, Su Rui was sitting on the edge of her bed with a black face. Ah! Master, why are you here? Hearing Su Wan's words, Su Rui lifted his eyes and stared at her face. When he heard the notification from the headquarters, Su Rui immediately rushed to Su Wan's room. She wasn't there. Su Rui anxiously released his divine senses to sense her location. In the end, he sensed her in Su Su's aura. Thinking of what Su Su said during the day, Su Rui was anxious and wanted to rush over. But at that time, Su Su's aura suddenly moved and Su Wan's aura gradually calmed down. Sensing that she was fine, Su Rui breathed a sigh of relief but also felt really angry. Come here. He waved at Su Wan with a cold expression. Oh. Su Wan walked in front of Su Rui, confused. Master, you, ah. In the next moment, Su Wan was forcefully pulled onto the bed. Didn't I tell you not to get close to Yi Qing? Seeing the man's cold gaze, Su Wan was dazed. She couldn't help but smile. I didn't get close to him. I just accidentally bumped into him. How could there be such a coincidence? She clearly couldn't help but kill him. Su Rui felt Yunxing and Shang Nianhua's aura disappear. Seeing Su Wan blinking her eyes innocently, Su Rui didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He really didn't know how to deal with her. He couldn't bear to kill her. Keeping her alive would be a disaster. Master. Feeling Su Rui's hesitation, Su Wan blinked and looked at him blankly. You're going to sleep here tonight. Su Rui was speechless. Ahem. Su Rui quickly sat up straight and coughed in all seriousness. Cultivate properly. Don't do anything. Otherwise, even I can't protect you. Oh. Su Wan also sat up and propped her chin on her hands. She stared fixedly at Su Rui. Master, take care too. I won't be sending you off. Su Rui, I haven't said that I'm leaving yet. Why are you chasing me away like this? Under Su Wan's sparkling gaze, Su Rui had no choice but to stand up and quickly leave her room. Until Su Rui's figure disappeared, Su Wan smiled and laid back on the bed. She lifted her wrist and continued to stare at the golden bracelet on her wrist. Su Wan, what do you think love is? Su Wan recalled. In that world, the old ghost who had turned into Su Su asked her this before he died. What is love? Su Su, so you also want to know what love is? It was because of this question and because he risked his life to save her time and time again in that world. Therefore, Soo-won couldn't do it today. In the past, she thought that her biggest goal as a mission enforcer was to defeat Soo-soo. She wanted to kill him in the trial. Then, she would truly let go. But now, Soo-won realized that she was ridiculously wrong. What had been imprisoning and torturing her wasn't someone else but her own obsession. Her obsession made her extreme and stubborn. Actually, as a mission enforcer, Soo-soo only did what he had to do. Different standpoints, different responsibilities. Soo-won was also a mission enforcer now. She knew that she didn't have the right to constantly criticize Soo-soo. Compared to her, the heartless and desireless Soo-soo was the truly pitiful one. She was able to meet Soo-rue. She was able to walk out of her past pain and isolation. As for Soo-soo, from the beginning to the end, he had nothing but responsibilities and missions. Even the most basic human emotions were the greatest luxury for him. That's right. Soo-won had recovered her memories now. She had vaguely guessed something in Xiang's sex illusion. When she broke through to the Golden Core realm and formed her Devil Core, the immortal chi in the bracelet not only allowed her to smoothly advance but also allowed her to see Jinghong Fairy's past. It also opened a crack in the seal in the depths of her sea of consciousness. Over the years, Soo-won had actually gradually recalled some of her memories with Soo-rue. Especially after meeting Soo-soo again, she recalled everything. Chapter 4:17. The next morning, the news of Daki's sect being in trouble spread through Xiaoguang town. Tianyun sect's disciples quickly rushed to the scene. This time, the leader was Duga Qingzhou and the female lead, Yun Xian, was following him like a tail. It's the monster race. The room where Ho Bingchen and his sister died was still filled with a faint monster aura. Not just the monster race. Yun Xian's gaze froze hearing Duga Qingzhou's words. She took out an exquisite round mirror from her storage pouch and shone it around the room. After a flash of golden light, a layer of faint black mist condensed in the air. The cold ghost aura made everyone's gaze freeze. This was a ghost cultivator. A ghost cultivator from the Ghost Netherworld region. Duga Qingzhou wasn't calm right now. Not only were there monsters, but there were also ghosts. Who did it? Soo-soo's people or Yi Xan's people? The monster race and ghost race are so arrogant. They actually dared to kill people under Tianyun sect's mountain. While Duga Qingzhou was deep in thought, everyone who had reached the final conclusion started to feel indignant. The Tianyun sect had been contacting the various sects to unite and attack the Ghost Nether Realm and Wanya Mountain. However, many sects had not reached an agreement with the Tianyun sect for their own development. Now that something like this had happened, the Daki sect was naturally the first to stand up and support the Tianyun sect in attacking the Ghost Nether Realm and Wanya Mountain. The entire day, the entire Xiaoguang town was filled with a tense atmosphere. Tianyun sect's people also started investigating suspicious cultivators. As for Soo-won, the real murderer, she had a good night's sleep last night. When she woke up in the morning, she pulled Soo-rue out to go shopping. Master, look. This is Xiaoguang town's most famous 5-colored silk. Do you think it looks good? Soo-won held the silk and compared it to her body. Soo-rue met her sparkling gaze and couldn't help but soften his gaze. He said gently, "It looks good. If you like it, then buy it all." Oh. Soo-won immediately tossed the silk into Soo-rue's arms. Then she took out a spiritual stone and tossed it to the shopkeeper. "I'm buying it all. Keep the change. Thank you for your patronage. Fairy, take care." The shopkeeper, who was holding the spirit stones in his hand, immediately sent off his god of wealth with a smile on his face. In Xiaoguang town, spirit stones were also a kind of currency. Moreover, a low-grade spirit stone was worth thousands of gold coins. So, how much could his few bolts of silk be worth? After shopping, Su Wan immediately felt refreshed, and Su Rui, who had already been reduced to a follower, could only helplessly and gently look at the figure in front of him. Seeing her smile so happily, Su Rui felt that his mood had also lightened up a lot. At this moment, he seemed to have forgotten his mission and their identities. Master Mo. At this time, a pleasant female voice suddenly rang behind the two people. Su Rui stopped and turned his head to see the two figures behind him. A handsome man and an exceptionally beautiful young girl. The two people standing together were especially pleasing to the eye. At this time, Su Wan also stopped her footsteps, her gaze flickering as she looked at the gradually approaching man and woman. Su Wan naturally recognized the female lead, Yun Xian. She had such a recognizable face. She'd never forget it for the rest of her life. As for the man next to her, Su Wan didn't recognize him. But seeing his Tianyun sect's disciple robe, Su Wan could tell that his status in Tianyun sect wasn't low. Master Mo, long time no see. Yun Xian smiled as she walked in front of Su Rui and Su Wan. She smiled and greeted Su Rui while looking at Su Wan. She was a demon. Although Su Wan didn't have any demon aura on her, Yun Xian had used her master's magic weapon to make her reveal her true form decades ago. Yun Xian knew that she was a snake demon. Senior brother Qingzhou. Yun Xian leaned against Duge Qingzhou's ears and whispered. Duge Qingzhou couldn't help but look deeply at Su Wan and Su Rui. Green snake demon. Is your sister by Suzhen here? Cough. Back to the topic. If the woman in front of him was the murderer last night, then she must be a mission enforcer. Was it Su Wan? Or Yi Xin? Hello, I'm Tianyun Sect's Law Enforcement Hall's administrator, Duge Qingzhou. Last night, there was a murder at Daki Sect's residence. Right now, I'm under my master's orders to investigate this case. I hope that you two can cooperate with me. Cooperate. Su Rui narrowed his eyes hearing Duge Qingzhou's words. Duge Qingzhou should know who died. Didn't he want to take this chance to find the other mission enforcers hidden in Xiaoguang town by investigating the case? Thinking of this, Su Rui's gaze flickered and he smiled at the people in front of him. Since we're at Tianyun Sect's place, we naturally have to cooperate with you guys. Did you guys find any clues? Duge Qingzhou and Yun Xian glanced at each other. Yun Xian smiled and walked forward. I won't hide it from you. We did find a lot of useful clues. There's a demon clan's aura and ghost clan's fog at the crime scene. We suspect that Wanya Mountain and Ghost Netherworld region work together to do this so. Yun Xian's gaze landed on Su Wan coldly. Master. Su Wan felt Yun Xian's gaze and immediately leaned against Su Rui nervously. Master, look at her. Her gaze is so fierce. She's not suspecting me, right? Last night, I served young master for an entire night, and young master testified for me. Isn't that right, isn't that right? Su Rui was speechless. Yun Xian how is my gaze fierce? You're clearly jealous of my natural beauty. Duge Qingzhou, damn. Why does her tone sound like Ding Zhejia's? Ahem. Su Rui couldn't help but cough sensing their strange gazes. That's right. Xiao Qing is a demon but she never kills. Plus, she was with me the entire time last night. Lying was a piece of cake for Su Rui. Speaking to hear, Su Rui couldn't help but raise his hand and embrace Su Wan's small waist. Oh. Is that so? Dugu Qingzhou looked at Su Rui suspiciously. Yun Xian also looked at the two unkindly. Master Amo, we just went to the Medicinal Valley. You guys don't seem to be staying with them. Although I'm willing to believe you, there's no proof. Do you have any other evidence to prove her innocence? Su Rui was speechless. Damn. Do I have to do that with other evidence? Would I be so perverted that I'd record myself sleeping at night? You can always find a way to frame someone. Hearing Yun Xian's words, Su Wan couldn't help but take a step forward. She looked coldly at the female lead. I am indeed a demon, but I've followed my master for many years. I've cultivated myself and focused on cultivation. Your Tianyun sect claims to be Tsangyue's #1 sect, but I didn't expect you to be so short-sighted. So what if you're a demon? So what if you're a ghost? Everything in this world is equal. You guys are biased against us. I've heard that your Tianyun sect has been calling on everyone to denounce Wanyao Mountain and Ghost Netherworld region. Humph. All these years, no one responded to your call. You guys feel embarrassed, right? We still don't know who did this to Daki's sect. It's not a new thing in the Kunlun immortal realm for a thief to cry, "Stop thief." Hearing Su Wan's words, everyone was in an uproar. Even Daki's sect's people couldn't help but be shocked. What a sharp-tongued demon. Chapter 418. Master. Dugu Qingzhou and Yun Xian called out respectfully when they saw the figure that flew over. It wasn't anyone else but Tianyun sect master, Heavenly Z. The white-haired and white-bearded Heavenly Z's robes fluttered in the wind and he exuded an aura of an immortal. The moment he appeared, the cultivators on the street didn't dare to make any noise. An almighty in the tribulation realm. Su Rui was also on guard. His mental power wouldn't be suppressed by Heavenly Z, but Su Rui still revealed a pale expression. Heavenly Z's strongest point wasn't his cultivation but his heavenly secrets. He could pry into heavenly secrets and see through a person's innate character. Su Rui had to be careful in front of him because he had a hidden identity as Master Mo. He definitely couldn't let Tsangyue mainland's cultivators find out about this identity. Thankfully, Heavenly Z's gaze only flashed past Su Rui before landing on Su Wan. Heavenly Z's expression turned strange as he used his unique technique to look at Su Wan's sea of consciousness. The sea of consciousness of this little green snake was actually a vast golden ocean. This was weird. Too weird. Sect Master Heavenly Z. Seeing that Heavenly Z was staring at her, Su Wan calmly bowed to him. This little demon has been following the master around to cultivate and gain experience for many years. I've always abstained from killing. Although I don't dare to say that I'm a good person, I'm definitely not someone who does evil. Today, I'd like to ask Sect Master Heavenly Z to be my witness. Since Daoist Dugu suspects that I'm the murderer who killed Daki's sect's disciple, please show me the evidence. Evidence? Heavenly Z turned to look at his disciple. Qingzhou, do you have evidence? Master, Dugu Qingzhou was also speechless. It'd be great if he really had evidence. Unfortunately, although Tianyun sect's secret technique could see a person's fate, it wasn't omnipotent. They couldn't tell who the murderer was. Cough. Of course, it wasn't like there was no way. Dugu Qingzhou raised his hand and took out a small jade box from his storage bag. I collected the demonic aura in this jade box from the crime scene. Since Miss Qing wants a witness, then I'll invite everyone here to be a witness. Are you willing to release your demonic aura and let my master sense it? Everyone had their own unique aura, and the same was true for demons. Every demon cultivator's aura was different. Ordinary cultivators might not be able to sense this kind of aura, but for a powerhouse like the Heavenly Z, distinguishing the aura of a demon was a simple matter. Ha! Su-won smiled in disdain hearing Dugu Qingzhou's words. So this is your evidence. This is actually a good idea. I can properly cooperate with your Heavenly Fate School's inspection so that there won't always be people slandering our 10,000 Monster Mountains demon race behind our backs. While speaking, Su-won didn't hesitate to release her demonic aura. Sensing her confidence, Su-rui narrowed his eyes and quietly waited for the situation to develop. The enormous demon aura disappeared in an instant. Heavenly Z shook his head. No, it's not the same aura. Qingzhou, you're too rash this time. Dugu Qingzhou furrowed his brows. It wasn't her aura. Was it really not her? Or did she think of this and covered it up? Miss Qing, sorry. Dugu Qingzhou's mind raced. By the time he lifted his head again, he wore a sincere expression and spoke to Su-won apologetically. I was too impatient this time and blamed you wrongly. Please don't argue with me. Hearing Dugu Qingzhou's words, Su-won glared at him coldly and then grabbed Su-rui's hand. Master, I'm really unhappy right now. I'm not in the mood to shop anymore. Let's go back and dual cultivate. Su-rui was speechless. What the hell was dual cultivation? Since that's the case. Su-rui glanced at Heavenly Z. Senior Heavenly Z, this junior will be leaving first. Saying this, Su-rui left with Su-won. Seeing the two of them leave, the surrounding cultivators also walked away. At that moment, Heavenly Z turned to look at his apprentice with a thoughtful expression. Qingzhou, what's wrong with you today? In Heavenly Z's eyes, his disciple was the smartest and most reliable person. She shouldn't have made such a huge mistake. Dugu Qingzhou was in a difficult position. If it wasn't to find the mission enforcer, he wouldn't have been so impatient. Plus, he clearly felt that little Qing was the mission enforcer. The reason why he didn't catch her today was because she was already prepared. He was too careless this time. Master, this disciple was too impatient and caused trouble for you. Trouble? Heavenly Z's gaze flickered and he sighed. You really caused trouble for me. Whatever, there's still a few days until the small world opens. I'll go back to my residence and meditate in seclusion. I'll come out on the 9th day. Saying this, Heavenly Z's figure flashed and he disappeared from the street. When he appeared again, he was on top of a mountain covered in mist. At this moment, in the clouds, a slender figure stood against the wind, his clothes whiter than snow. Your Highness Demon King, long time no see. The Heavenly Z looked at Bai Yi and couldn't help but greet him. Ha! Bai Yi smiled faintly. It hasn't been that long. It's been around 5,000 years. Su Feng. Su Feng was Heavenly Z's name. Before he became the sect master of Tianyun sect, he was one of the top geniuses in Sangyue mainland. Heavenly Z froze hearing Bai Yi call his name. Then he smiled. No one has called me that in a long time. I've almost forgotten about it. That's not all you've forgotten. Bai Yi looked at Heavenly Z's sage-like appearance and couldn't help but smile mockingly. You really look like a swindler in the mortal world right now. Ah. Heavenly Z froze and shook his head bitterly. It's been 5,000 years and you're still as venomous as ever. Hearing his words, Bai Yi coldly raised his eyes. I know you want to attack my 1,000-demon mountain. Bai Yi, welcome your challenge at any time, but, to bully a junior of the demon race here, your Heavenly Fate sect is really shameless. What happened today was just a misunderstanding. Heavenly Z was familiar with Bai Yi's protectiveness and narrow-mindedness. Therefore, when he heard Bai Yi's voice transmission on the street, he knew that he was in trouble again. It seemed like it was true. It wasn't that easy to get rid of Bai Yi, this old monster. While Heavenly Z and Bai Yi were discussing on the mountain peak, Su Wan and Su Rui had returned to the inn. Coming to Su Wan's room, Su Rui dragged her to the bedside. Come, little snake. Tell me, what is dual cultivation? Oh. Su Wan blinked and smiled faintly at Su Rui. Master, you're really impatient. You want to dual cultivate in broad daylight. You need to know how to control yourself. Su Rui was speechless. Control my ass. Who was the one who said they wanted to dual cultivate in front of everyone on the street? This young master's illustrious reputation has been ruined by this little snake. Doing lewd things in broad daylight and dual cultivation with a demon. In the future, when people talk about the medicinal valley, Master Mo would probably be related to these two words. Chapter 419. In the end, Ho Bingchen and his sister's matter was left unsettled. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, Su Rui forbade Su Wan from wandering outside. As for Su Wan, she just stayed in Su Rui's room every day, disturbing his cultivation. Su Rui slowly got used to the little snake's harassment. In the blink of an eye, it was the 8th of September. Tomorrow was the day the small world would open. Today, Su Wan still stayed in Su Rui's room until late at night. Master, I'm so tired. I don't want to go back. I'll sleep with you. She blinked her big eyes and looked at him innocently. Ah. Su Rui quietly turned his face to the side. He wouldn't admit that he had feelings for this little snake. Master, let's sleep together. Su Wan pitifully tugged on Su Rui's sleeves and looked at him hopefully. It's so cold when I sleep alone. You know that snakes are cold-blooded animals. It's really cold. Ahem. Su Rui coughed, his ears starting to turn red. Ah. Su Wan seemed to see the naive yet simple and crude young general from the Xia dynasty. Master. She narrowed her eyes and wrapped herself around Su Rui. Master, just give in to me. Okay. Su Rui looked up and stared at Su Wan. In Su Rui's memory, he naturally hadn't slept with any woman before. But for some reason, he vaguely felt that he and the little snake seemed to have been intimate before. In short, that feeling was really mysterious, making him feel like there was a fire burning in his heart. Really? That's great. You have to dote on me. Seeing that Su Rui agreed, Su Wan immediately beamed with joy and jumped onto the bed. Then without saying anything further, she burrowed into the blanket. When he saw the little green snake curled up in the quilt and coiled around his body, General Su's entire face twisted. Didn't we agree to sleep together? Don't move. Feeling Su Rui's stiff body, Su Wan blinked her red eyes and stuck out her tongue, licking his face. Master, maintain a good posture and don't move. This way, it'll be convenient for me to warm up. Ah, you're so hot, so hot. Su Rui was speechless. You. Su Rui's eyes were cold and he was about to get angry when the little snake on his body drilled into his arms. This place is still the most comfortable. I can even hear your heartbeat. Su Wan said and closed her eyes. Listening to Su Rui's heartbeat, she quickly fell asleep peacefully. After falling asleep, Su Wan automatically transformed into her human form and shrunk into Su Rui's embrace. Su Rui on the bed didn't move. Listening to the breathing of the person in his arms, Su Rui's gaze became absent-minded. He subconsciously raised his hands to hug the person in his arms and then closed his eyes at ease. The 9th of September was the day that countless cultivators in Sangyue mainland were looking forward to. Early in the morning, the entire Shaguang town was bathed in light. The place to open the small world was in front of the valley in the north of Sunglow Town. 49 elders from the 3 first-grade sects had to work together to open the gate. The opening time was the same as in previous years, 2 months. Su Rui brought Su Wan to where everyone from the Medicinal Valley was gathered. Right now, Su Wan had transformed into her original form again. The entire dark green snake body was wrapped around Su Rui. Seeing their figures, everyone from the Medicinal Valley nodded respectfully at Su Rui and then started whispering to each other in 2s and 3s. Su Rui didn't even need to listen to them to know that they were talking about his relationship with the little snake. This wasn't something new anymore. General Su expressed that he didn't care about that a long time ago. Not long after, people from other sects arrived one after another. Seeing Yi Qing and Ziyi standing in Xiang sect's camp and Dugu Qingzhou standing in Tianyun sect's camp, Su Rui's gaze darkened. There was another person. Just who was that person? Was he hiding among the people here today? Why couldn't he sense any aura from him? Su Rui's gaze quickly swept over everyone and then paused on a black-clothed girl from Guiling sect. This aura was, feeling Su Rui's spiritual power. The girl in black who was originally standing quietly among the group of disciples suddenly raised her eyes and coldly looked at Su Rui. This glance made Su Rui's hair stand on end and he was drenched in cold sweat. This person was, Su Rui retracted his gaze and recalled the familiar aura. It was Sect Master Xianyuan of Guiling sect. She actually disguised herself as an ordinary disciple and hid among the crowd. Just what was her motive? Was she a mission enforcer? This question flashed through Su Rui's mind but he immediately rejected it. Xian Yuanshi couldn't be a mission enforcer because with her strength, she didn't need to disguise herself at all. The other mission enforcers here, including Su, wouldn't be her match. Her true strength was definitely terrifying. After Su Rui retracted his gaze, Xian Yuanshi didn't continue to use her mental power to attack Su Rui. Instead, she turned to look at Tianyun sect's disciples. This time, the leader of Tianyun sect was still Dugu Qingzhou with Yun Xian following behind him. As a first-rank sect, Tianyun sect had 10 spots to enter the small world. Behind the 2 of them were 8 disciples with lower cultivation. Xian Yuanshi's gaze landed on an unassuming disciple and she couldn't help but reveal a smile on her cold face. It's time. Open the seal. When the sun rose into the sky, the 49 people sitting around immediately injected their spiritual power into a certain area. As the seal was opened, a space-time barrier appeared in front of everyone. All the people from the sects entered the gate in order. Behind the door was another world. Although they had all entered from here, they would be scattered in different corners of the small world. 2 months later, the door that they had left would appear in front of them again. Be good and stay here. When they entered the small world, Su Rui couldn't help but hide Su Wan in his arms. But the moment they entered the door, because the space-time was split, a gust of wind blew over with sand and stones. Su Rui wasn't prepared at all. By the time he supported his spiritual power barrier and landed safely, he realized that his arms were empty. Su Wan was gone. Little snake. Su Rui's expression changed. He knew the little snake's cultivation. Even if she wanted to leave, he would definitely notice. But now, she disappeared without a sound. This was impossible. The same thing happened to the Xiang sect, the Ghost Spirit sect, and the Tianyun sect. When they entered the gate, there were clearly 10 people, but because everyone was separated, no one knew that their group had turned from 10 to 9 people. Pitch black. Right now, Su-won felt like she was in a pitch-black place. She couldn't even see her fingers. She maintained her original form and slowly moved. Don't move. At this time, Su-won suddenly heard a familiar voice. Yi Qing. Su-won froze. Wasn't she with Su Rui? Why did Su Su become the person next to her after entering the small world? At this time, a flame suddenly appeared in front of Su Wan's eyes. The faint blue flame shone on a man's smiling face. Not just Su Su. Chapter 420. The pitch-black underground palace was illuminated by the faint blue flames. Su Wan transformed into her human form again. Seeing the unfamiliar man and woman in front of her, she subconsciously leaned against Su Su. What's going on? Su Su furrowed his brows hearing Su Wan's question. Then he looked suspiciously at the cold and immature girl and the man smiling like a fox. You guys brought us here. Not me. The man still wearing Tianyun's sex disciple robes smiled and lifted his brows. She did it. He raised his hand and pointed at the black-clothed girl. The girl in black was still expressionless. Feeling Su Su's gaze on her, the girl's gaze flickered and she said coldly, "Young master, I brought you guys here but Brother Bei was the one who came up with the idea." Devil King Bei. Su Wan and Su Su turned to look at the ordinary-looking Tianyun sex disciple. His figure and appearance were changing right now. That's right. Bei was the same as Xian Yuanshi, sneaking into this small world. Of course, Xian Yuanshi relied on her own strength. She hid her aura and entered with the identity of a ghost spirit sex disciple. Bei's method was really shameless. He used Su Wan's matter to make a fuss and forcefully got a spot from the heavenly Z. Then he transformed into a Tianyun sex disciple and followed them in. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, Bai Yi couldn't help but smile faintly. Young master, I was the one who secretly informed Xiao Shi to use the teleportation technique to bring all of you to the underground palace. My lord is in a deep slumber here, and only you, young master, can undo the seal and awaken him. The Flame Immortal. Su Wan froze hearing Bei mention the Flame Immortal. The Flame Immortal was actually still alive. Plus, her guess was right. The Flame Immortal was Su Su's father. Compared to Su Wan's shock, Su Su seemed really calm. He didn't expect the Flame Immortal to still be alive. However, being alive or dead was not important to the emotionless and desireless Zhou Donghuang. Bei, Xian Yuanshi. Su Su confirmed their identities again. I know you guys. In that case, lead the way. Saying this, Su Su turned to look at Su Wan. Follow me. Don't wander around. Yes. Su Wan nodded. She had no other choice since they were already here. Compared to Bai Yi and Xian Yuanshi, Su Su seemed much more gentle and harmless. The four of them slowly walked along the winding path of the underground palace. After walking for a long time, they finally arrived in front of a stone door. The grayish-white stone door was carved with many complicated patterns. It was a talisman. Su Wan had done a lot of research on talismans in the cultivation world. She could tell at a glance that the veined pattern on the stone door was a talisman, a very powerful sealing talisman. Young master, only your blood can open this sealed stone door. At this moment, Bai Yi was looking at Su Su with an extremely excited and fervent gaze. He had waited for 5,000 years. He had finally waited for the return of his young master. He had waited for the day when the seal would be opened and the master would be awakened. Hearing Bai Ye's words, Su Su didn't move. Must I use my blood? His expression was a bit strange right now. Xian Yuanshi and Bai Yi nodded in unison. Of course we need young master's blood. Only your blood can open this seal. Ah. Su Su still stood there without moving. Su Wan couldn't help but facepalm. Dear friends, it's time to educate people. Your young master is using someone else's body. So, the blood he bleeds is someone else's too. Therefore, you're hoping that the ghost prince's blood can open this sealed door. Are you guys joking? Amen. That's the theory, but Su-won wouldn't tell anyone about the mission enforcers. She turned to look at Su-su. What do you plan on doing? Su-su calmly walked in front of the stone door, then raised his hand and cut his finger. His blood flowed along the lines on the door, then gathered together. Then, there was nothing else. How did this happen? Bai Yi stared in astonishment at the stone door that was covered in veined patterns. The stone door didn't even budge, let alone open the seal. That's it. Su-su stretched out his hands. I'm not using my own body right now. Therefore, if this seal can only be opened by the Flame Immortal's direct bloodline, then we don't need to waste time here. Not his own body. Hearing Su-su's words, Bai Yi's expression turned a bit better. Meanwhile, Xian Yuanshi looked at Su-su and Su-won with a complicated gaze. She recalled what Jinghong Fairy said to her. So, young master came back from that world. No, there must be a way. Bai Yi's gaze gradually turned serious. His demonic aura kept surging. If you don't have a physical body, then I can only extract your soul power and condense it into blood. That way, I can definitely open the seal. Brother Bai Yi, are you crazy? Hearing Bai Yi's words, Xian Yuanshi carefully stood in front of Su-su and Su-won. Extracting soul power will cause irreversible damage to young master's soul. I won't let you do this. Xian Yuanshi's gaze was cold and determined. She had to protect the man behind her. No matter what kind of enemy she faced, she wouldn't retreat. Feeling Xian Yuanshi's determination, Su-su turned his face slightly and glanced at the girl in front of him, a bit surprised. Although Su-su was emotionless, he could still feel other people's concern for him. The situation didn't look good. Feeling Xian Yuanshi and Bai Yi's aura rising, Su-won, who had been standing quietly by the side, secretly tugged on Su-su's robe. Su-su, what's going on? Is there something wrong with Bai Yi? Devil King Bai Yi. Su-su slowly closed his eyes and recalled his memories of Tsangyue mainland. These memories were left in the bracelet by Su Qin. They weren't complete, but it was enough for Su-su to know a lot of things. In the end, Su-su's memories stopped at an enchanting red plum tree. Plum Blossom Immortal Hongyu. She was Bai Yi's wife. Su-su opened his eyes, his gaze gradually clearing up. Bai Yi, I know what you want to do. I believe you. Do it. Young master. Xian Yuanshi looked at Su-su in disbelief. She bit her lips and shook her head furiously. Young master, you have to reconsider. Once the soul was injured, it was irreversible. Su-won also looked at Su-su in shock. She hesitated before tightening her grip on Su-su's robe. Su-su, don't do anything rash. You. Xiao-won. Su-su turned his head and smiled at Su-won. I think I roughly understand what love is. Love was gentle like water but also fiery like fire. Different people had different ways of loving their loved ones. Bai Yi disregarded everything because he had waited for too long. He had been separated from his lover for too long. Chapter 421. Su-won fell silent hearing Su-su's words. Bei also regained his composure. Young master, don't worry. I'll be careful. Even if I hurt myself, I won't hurt you at all. No. Xian Yuanshi's gaze remained cold. Brother Bei, your method is too dangerous. If you really want to do this, then I'll cooperate with you guys. Saying this, Xian Yuanshi's black hair fluttered in the wind and countless fluorescent lights revolved around her. At this moment, time seemed to slow down infinitely. Su Wan could even clearly see the trajectory of the black hair fluttering above her head. This was time rule. Hour. Seeing that Xian Yuancher had activated her time rule without a care, Bei didn't dare to delay. While time slowed down, he could cast his spell more accurately. While time was being slowed down, Bei accurately extracted Su Su's soul power and condensed it into 3 drops of blood. Su Wan felt like she had experienced a century, but in reality, only 3 breaths had passed. In 3 breaths' time, Bei finished his spell and Su Su was fine. Meanwhile, Xian Yuancher's black hair turned into snow like silver. Under the cover of her silver hair, the cold girl's expression was tired and there were traces of blood at the corner of her lips. Hour. Bei opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but Xian Yuancher waved her hands at him. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Brother Bei, hurry and activate the seal. Seeing Xian Yuancher's shaky body, Bei's gaze was complicated. He turned around and dripped Su Su's blood onto the stone door. This time, the entire stone door shook violently. The tremors under their feet made the 4 people lose their balance. Xian Yuancher was the first to fall down. Are you okay? Su Su hugged her skinny body in a flash. Looking at the pale girl in his arms, Su Su's gaze turned solemn. Why did you do this? Su Su had transmigrated through so many time spaces. Although he had encountered people sacrificing themselves for others, he couldn't understand this complicated feeling. He and Xian Yuancher had only met a few times. Why was she helping him like this? Just to be loyal to the Flame Immortal? Hearing Su Su's question, Xian Yuancher smiled. Young master, I've waited for you for 5,000 years. From now on, I'll be wherever you are, unless I die. Some people were born stubborn and Xian Yuancher was undoubtedly a stubborn woman. Hearing her words, Su Su looked down. I don't have a heart, I don't have feelings. I'm not worthy of anyone doing anything for me because I don't know how to repay you. No, you understand. Su Wan's soft voice came from behind. Su Su, you have the heart. You know. Although Su Wan also believed the rumors in the headquarters and thought that Su Su didn't have a heart, after knowing that old ghost was Su Su, she felt that Su Su was also a person with feelings. Otherwise, he wouldn't have appeared in that world and wouldn't have saved her again and again. So, he should have a heart, but his heart, you have a heart, but you don't know it, because your 7 emotions and 6 desires have been sealed by someone else. The stone door opened and the smoke dissipated. A red figure floated in front of the 4. The gentle and graceful man was like an immortal walking out of a painting. He smiled as he walked over, as though he had stepped through time and space. Countless fire lotuses bloomed under his feet, looking extremely demonic. A gentle yet evil existence. This was the Flame Immortal. Master. Seeing the Flame Immortal, Bai Yi immediately knelt down. Xian Yuancher, who was in Su Su's arms, also struggled to kneel down. The Flame Immortal smiled. He gently lifted his hand and pulled Xian Yuancher's frail body in front of him. Xian, you're such a worrisome child. The Flame Immortal lifted his hand and gently caressed Xian Yuancher's long hair. Then her hair turned from silver to black at a speed visible to the naked eye. Su Wan and Su Su couldn't help but look over at this action. This wasn't a spell but a law. Time reversal law. This was one of the rarest and most powerful time laws. Letting go of Xian Yuancher's hair, the Flame Immortal's gaze landed on Su Su. Su-er. He called his son's name, but his tone wasn't gentle at all. Instead, it was a bit cold. Who sealed your heart? Was it Chi-Yu? Chi-Yu. Su Su's gaze flickered, feeling suspicious. I don't know what you're talking about. Feeling Su's coldness, the flame immortal narrowed his eyes. In the next moment, his gaze brightened. He stared at Su Wan, who had been standing behind Su. It's Qin's aura. Little devil, why do you have Qin's aura on you? The flame immortal's gaze was like a sharp sword, wanting to pierce through Su Wan at any moment. Su Wan slowly lifted her wrist, revealing the golden bracelet. Immortal, are you talking about this? This was Su Qin's bracelet. The flame immortal waved his hand, and the bracelet that had followed Su Wan for a few worlds left her wrist and returned to the flame immortal's palm. Feeling his lover's aura on the bracelet, the flame immortal's gaze turned a bit sorrowful. Where's your mother? Why is her magic weapon in someone else's hands? The bracelet was the token of love that the flame immortal gave to Su Qin back then. He didn't believe that his lover would casually give this to someone else. Not long after my mother gave birth to me, she passed away. I gave this bracelet to Su Wan. Hearing Lian's question, Su replied indifferently. Su Qin died. The flame immortal froze. At this time, a red figure appeared in front of everyone. This was a gentle and beautiful woman dressed in red. She seemed to have heard Su's words too and became sorrowful. Sister Qin died. How is that possible? Hongyu. Seeing that his wife had finally appeared, Byakuya immediately pounced on her excitedly and hugged his lover tightly. Bai Yi. Feeling the man's warm tears, Hongyu's voice began to tremble. Bai Yi, are you okay? Our child. Is she okay? I'm great. Little Plum Blossom is great too. Bai Yi murmured to himself as he subconsciously hugged the person in his arms. 5,000 years. He waited for this day for so long. Hongyu, you're finally back. Just what happened 5,000 years ago? Bai Yi couldn't help but ask the question hidden in his heart. This question had been bothering him for 5,000 years. Back then, Hongyu's expression turned a bit complicated. Back then, Sister Qin was about to give birth. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.